Welcome into Between the Pylons. I'm John Camacho.
And this is Jacob Waters.
And guys, we are back to our regularly scheduled podcast. We're wanting to do some topics today. And if you have been watching the series, we've been going division by division because of a couple unforeseen things. We kind of got behind with that. We were hoping to be done with it by this point. We're still going to finish it off, but we're just going to make them YouTube videos. So that's going to be straight onto YouTube, Between the Pylons. If you want to go check that out on YouTube, we're doing NFC East today, so you can check that out as well. But for this pod, we wanted to talk about the preseason, talk about some of the biggest topics. So what we did is we put our heads together, grabbed a couple topics that we each wanted to talk about, and we're just going to go through them. I mean, I don't really have anything else to add. I mean, just you know what? Let's start here.
No, I think like a free form preseason overall, just
which
topics.
I feel like we have the most fun with when it's just like kind of off the cuff a little bit.
Yeah.
But I wanted to start here. What has been your biggest takeaways from preseason at this point?
Biggest takeaways.
Yeah, this is not prepared at all, so I'm catching off the guard.
I would honestly just say looking at, so from me and my lens looking at it is trying to evaluate quarterback play. I've really kind of put an emphasis on that and trying to evaluate this rookie class particularly because it feels like there's a lot of pressure on these guys to immediately perform, a lot of different quarterback battles going on, and just kind of, for me, I feel like I'm watching a lot of smaller details instead of like the bigger picture of games now.
Yeah.
And it's fun, honestly. I really like it a lot to be able to look at just one certain aspect of a game and then go back and watch that same game and get to focus on another aspect of that. Yes, it does take a lot of time, but I enjoy it.
And I think that's the only way to watch preseason, because if you look at it like, if you try and look at the stat sheet or really just like the overall picture, you miss out on all the context. Yeah. So
it's not fun to watch third quarter Jags Saints.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you're paying attention to a player or something like that. Beyond that, it's like, okay, who cares what their stats were? They were playing third stringers, or who were they playing? We don't know. Like, I mean, so that's been like my biggest thing, because I absolutely agree. That's exactly how I watch the preseason as well. And there's certain teams. It's kind of fun because like when we really do try and follow all of the football world at the same time. And with preseason, you kind of get like that rev up to the regular season, because regular season you got to pay attention to every game. Everything's important. But preseason, if the Saints or like the Seahawks, they're not playing any starters. If they're playing, I don't really have to pay attention to them because they're not playing any starters. Doesn't really matter. Rams not really playing any starters. Doesn't really matter. So you just get to kind of focus on some of the bigger talking points and more interesting things going around the NFL, and that is a lot of fun. I really enjoy that a lot. So let's, I guess, just go right into the first topic. I want to let's start with, you mentioned the Jags Seahawks last night. Yeah. Travis Etienne. I want to hear your thoughts on Travis Etienne. Obviously has the injury, Liz Frank foot injury, probably going to be out for the year. So thoughts on the injury for Etienne, how it affects the Jags, and what you've thought of the Jags so far, because I know you've been keeping a close eye on Trevor Lawrence and all.
I have been. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the teams that I was most excited for and ready to see them kind of get this thing going in the right direction, just because there were so many moving parts that started to really line up and, kind of like just seeing the bigger picture as a whole. And I'm not going to sit here and say, I know what it's going to sound like. It's going to sound like you take out Etienne and the whole piece just falls apart. It's not that. I wish I could have talked about this, and then Etienne, first I wish he wouldn't have gotten hurt at all, but I wish I could have said these thoughts before the Etienne injury, because I know the way it lines up. So I'll start with Etienne. I think it's just a damn shame. I think it's just a disservice to a lot of football fans in general, just because we don't get to see that product out on the field, how electrifying he could be, and growing into that role. Looking at it from a fantasy aspect, this is the reason why you draft late. I think that's always safe to say. Yes, the only reason that you would want to draft early is if you just want to add that random chance of letting this stuff happen, which teach their own on that, I guess, for myself and my league. And I know what I prefer is to draft later, because I was going to take Etienne extremely early, because I felt very strongly about, yes, it may be being a split back in the beginning, but eventually as the weeks go on, you could tell who the better back was in Etienne and then taking over. So I'll step away from that. I hope he gets better and we can get to see him next year. And all in all, maybe the Jags aren't ready for Etienne this year. I think it might be safe to say it sucks that he's having an injury setback that he might have to physically try to bounce back from. But all in all, it looks like the Jags aren't even ready for Trevor Lawrence right now. I've watched them in preseason, and it's been abysmal. I am starting to doubt Urban Meyer in this college experiment going into the NFL. I've heard a lot of different beat writers talk about the way that he conducts practice and how he definitely is just translating the college atmosphere and vibe into that NFL. And if the players don't grasp that concept right away, I think that it could start to, chip away at each other. And they're not gelling, they're not meshing as well as what they could be going forward. And I'm not seeing it right now. They don't look good. They don't look good at all. It's preseason, so this would be the overreaction right now.
Yeah.
But I'm going to sit here and say Jacksonville 2 or 3 wins.
Yeah, I will say that is a overreaction. Couldn't agree more with what you were saying with Etienne. I thought he was going to be a fantasy weapon. I thought he would have, early on probably be more of that receiver back, but as the week's gone on, couldn't agree more with what you were saying with that. I think it is a little bit of an overreaction. Like, I'll be honest, like Trevor Lawrence has not been the most impressive quarterback in preseason. I would argue not top 2. I certainly have a top 2 that have been more impressive, or certainly more consistent.
Trevor is the 4th best rookie quarterback in preseason
right now. Yeah, and I won't argue with that. Now, I will say he is working with lesser than some of these other guys, right? I think that's certainly fair to point out. And I think lesser does also include the coach. I mean, I do. There's certainly some issues there. And yeah, I 100% understand what you're saying with the Urban Meyer trying to bring that college atmosphere to the NFL. And if that is what's happening, and obviously this is conjecture. We're not in camp. We don't really know. But based on everything that you've heard, and I absolutely agree, everything that I've heard as well, that does seem to be what's happening. If that is happening, as the years go on, as the seasons go on, hopefully you can get in that influx of rookies that will buy in, but it is going to be a lot harder with your free agents. You're going to have to be so much more picky because it's not just about talent and fit and scheme. It's also about, is this guy willing to buy in to a system when he's been treated like a man and now he's being treated like a college kid again.
I'm hearing that they're getting babied again. Some of the drills that they're doing are literally just right off the college, because that's what you're trying to do in college. You're trying to see who has that fire, who has that ability, who has that will, who wants to hit. They're playing bull in the ring. For those who don't know, that's where you have a guy in the middle, you have about 6 or so on the outside, and the coach randomly points at one and they just go smack the crap out of each other. Mm-hmm. You want to see someone endure that and get through that. These are grown-ass men who have already proved their ability, making millions of dollars. There's a lot of times where they're sitting there like, I'm not doing that.
I can only imagine. Look, I definitely understand, but as I said, I do think you're overreacting. I think this is a 5-6-1 team at the end of the day. I think this is a team that did have an influx of talent in the draft that I still believe in, regardless of Etienne.
I feel like they overpaid, but they got players.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say, listen, the running back at the end of the day, statistics say that they don't move the meter that much when it comes to wins and losses, and some do. Like Derrick Henry absolutely does. There are exceptions to that rule that I will absolutely talk to you about, but I don't know that Etienne was going to be that, especially year one. All right, I don't think that's how the scheme was set up.
Before, because Etienne in my head does not contribute.
I think we think the same way on that. But I still believe, listen, the most expensive offensive line, it still shouldn't be, but it is. And it's still got some promise there. You obviously have the golden child at quarterback. You have some pieces at wide receiver that I believe. You got to remember, DJ Shark isn't playing. We were still missing pieces on that offense that I think could help. But yeah, you're absolutely right to be concerned. I think you are overreacting with 2-3 wins. They only won 1 last year. I think they're certainly going to win 4 or 5 this year. I think they got that much better, probably 4 or 5 wins better. I
hope it's just watching how, because that's the thing. Like I'm not sitting there saying, damn, the Jags third string sucks right now. I'm looking at, damn, the Jags scheme sucks right now.
Yeah.
Their plan of attack, the way Urban is handling this.
And it is fair to say, hey, Urban's never really had a preseason before. Every game that he's ever coached, other than spring practice and stuff, has been go time. So he might be dialing back a scheme and maybe not really knowing how far to dial it back or anything like that, because this might not be the scheme that we're expecting. And I think that's fully fair to say that, like, hey, whatever we're seeing in preseason is probably not going to be what we're seeing week 1 as far as like schematic standpoint. But yeah, I certainly understand what you're saying. I think it's fair to be concerned.
I'm concerned, but I mean, I can sit here too though and also credit Trevor Lawrence, because if you were still let me redraft right now, I'm still taking Trevor number 1, just like anyone else would out there. That's just Trevor.
Man,
while being the 4th best guy, I know there might be an argument for you, and you might take Zach Wilson.
Yeah,
I get that. But for me, it would be Trevor. I think consensus of people would be Trevor. Trevor's still that guy, and he hasn't gone out there and like laid an egg or anything. In fact, I think Trevor has a lot of free reign right now when it comes to this open scope. It doesn't look as orchestrated as some of these other guys.
Yeah, I'll absolutely agree with that. Yeah,
I feel like Trevor has a lot more pull and leeway, and I know he's not out there really commanding the full ship right now, but it's not as scripted as it would be like a Trey Lance drive. You can tell, you can see certain plays. Justin Fields, I think, has some of the most gifted ones to him early on.
For sure.
it's just different.
Yeah, no, and I 1,000% agree with that. And I guess we'll take that over to, because there's a lot of stuff we want to talk about, and in no particular order. You mentioned Zach Wilson, so we'll just let that go right into one thing that I want to talk about. There are two quarterbacks in my head that have been the most consistent in preseason, and one of them I'm going to talk about just incredibly impressive. The other just very consistent, doing what he needs to do and play in and play out regardless of who he's going against, and that's Zach Wilson and Mac Jones. To me, both of these guys are guys that really are impressing me. Mac Jones was not a guy I was super high on. I'm always willing to admit that, but at this point, even this early on, man, I understand why there was so much hype at third string. Like he has poise. He is commanding an offense. I know it's just preseason, but like he looks like the guy, and he's doing that with Cam Newton in front of him, the ultimate leader, the ultimate kind of rah type of guy. But he's doing it a different way. But like every time he steps on the field, I'm just so impressed. Looks like a vet. Looks like making every throw perfectly on the money. Nothing looks too fast for him at this point. It's very impressive there. And then Zach Wilson, I can echo all of those things and then add in supreme arm talent to go along with it, and God, am I so impressed. I mean, the one play, look it up against the Green Bay Packers, the play breaks down, he rolls out to the right, and like off platform, beautiful, 20-25 yard throw, I'm not exactly sure, to Corey Davis. I mean, threw an absolute rocket dot down the field, and look, he that's exactly what he was doing at Boise State. Exactly what he was doing, and he's doing it at a higher level
BYU.
here. BYU. I don't know why I say Boise State, and so it's my bad. But BYU, and he's doing it. He's doing a really good job. I am very impressed. I mentioned earlier that I might consider a redraft there. Probably wouldn't. Still be Trevor Lawrence at 1, but man, Zach Wilson is. I feel like I was saying it all offseason. Hey, it's not close between him and anybody else in this draft. After in the quarterback conversation, like to me, there was a huge drop off.
You're saying if you had to pair it would be Trevor and Zach before
they were
Trevor.
They were close. They were close in my head during the draft process. Everyone said I was crazy, and to me, to me, it's crazy that a quarterback was drafted right after him, because I do think there was a drop off in talent. I will say that. And listen, early on, this is overreaction season. He
That's
could still
preseason is.
Exactly. So he could go out and be a dud, but I really don't think he's going to be. I thought he'd been super impressive.
Yeah, I mean, he could go out and be a dud, but at a certain point, that it's not because of his ability. I would say, like, it may be something doesn't line up later down the road. I don't know the case, but to see the type of off balance, off body throws translate, I had no doubt that he could do it. I would hope that you could literally see him do it at the college level, and it's translated to the NFL. The game doesn't seem fast like that. It doesn't seem like he's using those tools sporadically, because it's like, oh God, plays breaking down.
Doesn't seem like he's struggling to process anything like that.
He's handling it all. He's keeping poised even when there's a lot of pressure breaking down around him. I saw one, it was a play action pass where he rolled out. It was like a bootleg to the left, and he threw a comeback route on all the way at the back right sideline. Mm-hmm. And just to think of the zip that it takes to get there, and it was before the wide receiver made his break in his route too. Yeah. It was really good. Zach Wilson and the Jets have a promising future, I think, especially if they're able to get this thing right in the locker room and get it all going.
Yeah, man,
good.
I absolutely agree. So with that being said, it's more fun to talk about like the drama than it is just somebody being really good. The Mac Jones thing. Yes. All right. So obviously Mac Jones is doing well. There hasn't been a quarterback competition, but then, there has, but not really. Like we all kind of known who was going to be. Yeah. Cam was going to get that job. But then all of a sudden, Cam has to miss 5 days because of a misunderstanding with the COVID protocols, whatever happened there. I don't know the full story there. Very, very interesting. Apparently, Cam isn't vaccinated and is strongly against it, which, to each their own. Everybody has their opinion there. But very, very strange, that there would be a misunderstanding there when hey, there's somebody, chomping at the bit to come right behind you and take your job. I would think you would be extra careful in those scenarios. Does this open the door even a little bit for Mac Jones to take over?
Yeah, everything that I'm hearing is yes on that. So I don't know the full story behind Cam and the carelessness there, because carelessness is such a strong word. I don't know if it was a misunderstanding. I don't know if it was a mistake on someone else's part. I don't know what it was, but regardless, now Cam is not with that team for 5 days. And like you said, he is the ultimate rah-rah. Mm-hmm. I will show up. I will be the guy. I will rally this team around me. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of picture Cam going crazy trying to get the players to really buy into him, and then it's just Mac Jones just kind of standing over there. But Mac Jones is always doing the right thing, though. He's always showing up. The balls that he was throwing, they look beautiful. He had one in N'Keal Harry where N'Keal got shook up, but it was in It was an amazing pass. Deep ball accuracy never been called into doubt. Yeah,
everything.
He looks really good, and it would be sad to see Cam really lose the job over this.
It's surprising. I would add.
It would still be surprising. I still think this is Cam's thing to lose. Mm-hmm. I think that Belichick has really come out and said that Cam stepping in last year, he's the second year guy. He's the guy who has some familiarity here. He is. And, he said that he's the guy until he's not, pretty much, is what it was.
Absolutely.
But Mac, going forward, it looks good. I have a little bit of Cam bias in me that just says, and of course, Mac being the Alabama guy, it's like, you know what? Let Mac go out there and let him deal with some of the stuff that the inability around him on those certain players, and go ahead, have fun then. Have fun.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. I absolutely agree.
Real quick.
I absolutely agree. So I know we're going quarterback heavy a little bit, and I hate doing that.
That's the news, though.
But we're gonna keep doing. We have a couple topics outside of the quarterback conversation, but we're gonna keep doing it. And I am gonna take it to the 49ers, because we were talking about these guys, and as far as like processing very quickly, nothing seems too fast. That has been my single biggest complaint about Lance so far when I've been watching him, is that I do feel like he's processing a little slower. It does seem like it's too fast for him at this point, and maybe that's a way over examination. Like please, like, give me shit for that. I probably shouldn't be saying that. That's so conjecture, but it does feel to me that like there are some awesome plays, and he has a ton of talent. There's no doubt about that. There's a reason he was drafted 3rd overall, and we've seen those on the scripted plays. We've seen like the awesome play design that Shanahan brings to the table. But you can tell they're specifically trying to keep him in the pocket, stay away from all the runs, and just make him be a pocket passer. And it seems to me like he's struggling with like the basic, stand in the pocket, 3, like that kind of stuff, process 1, 2, 3 kind of things. I'm having issues with that so far. And am I being crazy right now, way overthinking this?
I would say it's a tad bit of an overreaction, but I mean, I agree with you in saying that I think when you evaluate Trey Lance in the stats at the end of the game, of like just looking at the stat sheet,
that up.
If it says like 16 of 23, 180 yards and a touchdown, you could take 3 passes away in the touchdown, and then it looks really, really bad. Yeah. Because if you were to watch the whole game, you would see times where the plan doesn't go exactly as it should, and it does kind of break down a little bit, and that's where I do have some worries there. Some off-body throws that I feel like shouldn't be there. He had some that should have been. He had one pass that I know. I think it was last week's game that should have been picked off. That was an interception. He kind of got lucky there.
Yeah, it was right after the other interception that he did throw. Yeah, no, so, absolutely.
There's just some plays here and there where he's definitely having a little bit harder of a time adjusting to this than what you would see because it's nothing but good. In like Trevor Lawrence, even with all Trevor Lawrence and the struggles, I would say right there, I wouldn't even call it struggles necessarily. It would just be the high bar
we haven't
set for
him. We haven't seen the exciting.
Yeah, exactly. But
absolutely.
Justin Fields has hit that right now. Mac Jones has hit that right now. Zach Wilson has hit that, and you've seen it. And you have seen it in doses in Trey Lance too. It's just not as consistent as what you would like it to be that early on. So I say all that in saying, I think this is Jimmy Garoppolo's job. I think the Jimmy Garoppolo-led 49ers right now will be a better off team early on than the Trey Lance-led 49ers.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And then, add in the fact that like you can pull the Lamar Jackson move here. You can put Lamar Jackson in these little sets. They did it all year his rookie year. He got in a couple plays. He was a distraction here and there for the defense, making people think, maybe making defenses think, get him used to the speed of the game a little bit. And then, week 11, week 12 comes around, he starts. I think that's a fair thing. And then imagine all of the game planning stuff. Like, as Shanahan has all these plays prepared for an incredibly mobile quarterback like a Lance. Mm-hmm. Imagine being able to really unleash that right as the playoffs are coming around.
Exactly.
Right when it really starts to matter.
Out there when it's really I have no doubt that Trey Lance could be a starting quarterback.
Not at all.
Right now.
Not at all.
I know that he could do that with
we're not
Shanahan
saying
and the offense around him. Exactly. But why show your hand too early when the hand's not ready to be played yet? Yeah. Just give it a minute, like with Lamar. It doesn't mean that you're a bust of a quarterback if it takes you a little bit of time to get out there. Not everyone out there should be thrust into that role, because when you are, it messes with your psyche. It messes you up mentally, and you don't know if you can recover from that. The mental game is something that I have always preached about, that could be, because all of these guys are assets on the physical game. They all have that. Oh, yeah. I think the ones that separate it is when you are able to have that mental toughness that goes into it that also contributes to your physical game. And take it slow. If this is the 49ers team that's 3 years removed from a Super Bowl.
And they are a Super Bowl football team.
And they are a Super Bowl caliber football team.
Yeah, you look at their roster up and down.
Jimmy Garoppolo at the helm. Their ceiling is higher with Trey Lance. No doubt their ceiling is absolutely higher. But right now, let's stick with the floor. Let's get it, because it's a very tough division. And I don't think you can afford to have a bad start.
Yeah, listen, I mean, you hit on pretty much everything. I couldn't agree more with what you're saying on that. And Jimmy G, like, as much as people want to make fun of him, yeah, he can run that offense at a high level. It's not. You said it perfectly. It's not the ceiling that Lance brings. It's not the running ability. It's not. Yeah, it's not all of those things that like would be exciting with Lance, but that can come. And also something that you've always said, we were so quick to write off these guys after one bad year, after one thing that's unimpressive. Like, we're 2 weeks into preseason. It's okay if it takes them a couple of months to get on the field from right now. You know, that's still okay. And I think 49ers fans, bright future for the 49ers in general, regardless of what happens. I still believe that Lance is going to be a good player, but it doesn't have to happen right away. So I love that. Let's move over to like a similar situation. The kind of similar situation where I think the exact opposite about. I feel the exact opposite.
It's got to be Chicago.
Justin Fields versus Andy Dalton. Apparently, you know, there hasn't been a named starter yet or anything like that, but they have pretty much said that it's Andy Dalton's team unless Andy Dalton really just absolutely lost it.
That he has to see Andy Dalton in the regular season.
Yeah.
Therefore, he's the starter.
Yeah, and listen, I get it. Like, maybe you signed Andy Dalton and you promised him you would be the starter and you want to keep your word or whatever happened there. And I'm not going to listen. Justin Fields not been perfect, and when he has played really well, it has been against the threes. I have not seen him against like the first team reps or anything like that. So like, yeah, there's certainly like you can poke holes in how he's played, but overall I think played well. Yeah, he missed a blitz assignment. Like, I'm sure you saw it.
Got popped.
Oh, dude,
I think that was mainly just because
off.
of the comment that came before. It wasn't solely because of that, but it was ironic to think of how he said. The reporter said, "Is the game fast or slow?" He said, "It's kind of slow to me." It didn't look on that play. It didn't look slow for anyone out there. But
yeah, that was his welcome to the NFL.
Yeah, and he popped right back up, and he still led a pretty impressive drive. He did
absolutely,
good.
Yeah. So like, and like, he'll figure that out. He'll figure out, hey, shift your line to the right. Like you know that's little stuff that rookies are going to have to deal with. I don't understand. I don't fathom a reason why you would think, as your coach, as a Matt Nagy who knows he's on the hot seat, who, like, let's be honest, I'm sure he doesn't feel this way. Your offense fucking sucks. Schematically, it fucking sucks. It's not that good. All right. And I'm sorry, Bears fans. Like, I'm not trying to be mean or anything. Like, I think there can be a bright future with this team, and there's a lot of pieces that I love on that team. But the scheme has been underwhelming every single year since he's been in the league, and it seems like the NFL caught up to it pretty quickly, and it has not really changed since year one, at least in my eyes. And I'm by no means a professional, but like that's what I'm seeing so far. Justin Fields adds a level of dynamic to the scheme that Andy Dalton just doesn't add. Even if he is a little bit better with blitz catch, with the mental side of the game at this point in their career, Justin Fields to me in every single way is the clear-cut better option for your football team. Even if you do have to deal with a couple negative plays here and there, you still got a good defense. I mean, so I'm not really that worried about it. I don't get why Matt Nagy wouldn't want to save his job by putting Justin Fields in as early as you possibly can.
Yeah, it blows my mind. The only thing that I could think of would be a promise that he made to Andy Dalton, because Andy Dalton has said so many times, he's balanced it well, but he has also said that it's still my time.
And that's the confidence behind it.
Yeah.
The confidence behind it, all the things that you're hearing just makes you think, okay, there has to be something that was said.
Something behind the scenes was agreed upon that this would be Andy Dalton's job to get and to lose if it were to be. And that makes sense as to why. Because it's like this thing with Justin Fields right now, I see it as like a fire. And it's growing. The fans, the team. There's a lot of buzz. Like you said, it's not perfect at times, but there's excitement at the quarterback position in Chicago. And the last time we saw that was a young Trubisky that got blown up in our faces way too soon. So there's this fire, and it kind of feels like Nagy and Dalton are keeping it down. They're like, whoa, not now.
Not yet.
You could kill it. You could kill it. That's how you lose a locker room. That's how you lose your job, and that's why I know Matt Nagy will be losing his job. It may not be this season. It may be at the end of the next season. I don't know. I don't think it can come soon enough.
Yeah, I think
he's extremely overrated, and to deny Justin Fields' starting job right now is to deny yourself that spark, that connection. The Bears are a very damn good defense. They have a very capable offense with the pieces around them. Get Fields in there and let's see this thing going, because it's the same thing that I said about Trey Lance and Jimmy G, except you don't have the success to lean on like the Super Bowl year that you did.
Mm-hmm. And you don't have the scheme. I have no confidence in your scheme with Andy Dalton. I don't.
I think Justin Fields' floor is almost the same as an Andy Dalton floor. Versus ceiling, Andy Dalton is nowhere in the same stratosphere to what Justin Fields can do to this team.
Yeah,
so what are we doing here?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And listen, you're a lot higher on Justin Fields from like a draft standpoint than I was.
Yeah, I like Justin Fields a lot.
So you're bigger. And listen, I still have questions there. I certainly do. But let's see what you got, man. Let's give him 3 years. I think
he has the it factor.
Yeah, exactly. Look, and if he does, let's give him 3 years and let's really see. Hopefully, he can get an offensive coordinator and a head coach that like can give him a little bit more than Matt Nagy I think is going to give him. And again, I know I'm shitting on Nagy. I thought he should have been gone at the end of this year. I don't understand how he really wasn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, and again, like if I'm Matt Nagy and I'm sitting here knowing you're on the hot seat, why would you not want to put the guy in as early as possible and show, like, then if you get 8-9 wins, you can say, hey, he progressed better every year or every week and he grew. Next year's going to be that much better. But if you have Andy Dalton in for 4 or 5 games and, whatever happens and you go 8-9, you're like, well, he still did better, but you didn't get to see as much of that growth.
Yeah.
I think I would give myself as much time as possible to see growth from week 1 to week 18, as opposed to waiting till week 4 or 5 when he's inevitably gonna be in anyway, and see the growth from week 6 or week 5 to week 18. I would do that as early as possible. And then I think the argument against it is they do play the Rams week 1. Like their first 2 games of the season is they play the Rams and the Bengals, and it's like, oh well, we'll let Dalton play the Rams and then put him in and have an easier game or whatever. And I just think that's dumb. I don't know. First of all, I don't see that an Andy Dalton ran Bears team beating the Rams. I just can't imagine that.
No, I think the only way that you could spin that was to save him from Aaron Donald. Maybe save Justin Fields from that start. But I hope we don't sound like hypocrites when we just came from a Trey Lance situation.
No, I think they're 2 totally different scenarios.
And yeah, exactly. You can evaluate the guy.
And Jimmy G is a lot better than Andy Dalton.
Has that it factor to where you can go ahead and get him out there.
Yeah.
And I've seen enough during preseason to be like, okay, I want to see the raw product tested on the field right now.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this, because at least it would change for me if roles were reversed and Andy Dalton was in San Francisco and Jimmy G was in Chicago. Do you still feel the exact same way, or does it change for one reason or the other?
No, I guess it would stay the same on the fact that I think that Jimmy G it can run a football team schematically, effectively. So I see no reason as to why you cannot wait and develop your talent and keep your hand hidden, because you know that you're still going to put a good product on the field. It's not going to derail your season. Andy Dalton is not that. We saw Andy Dalton's chance last year with a Cowboys team that has better weapons offensively. Yes, the line was banged up, but the Cowboys have one of the most potent offenses out there. A Zeke, a CeeDee Lamb, a Michael Gallup, and a Amari Cooper. And you're telling me that Andy Dalton, I was high
Nobody thought it was the drop-off, or at least we didn't in this room.
I thought that there was going to be something that would happen. That's what showed me why you pay Dak. I had a lot of crow to eat on that one. A lot of fucking big pills to swallow. But it's okay. That's what happens. And evaluating that Andy Dalton going over to this Bears team that I think has run a lot worse overall
in every aspect.
Send Fields out there.
Yeah, no,
I'm afraid I don't want to see Fields get the same treatment as like he has a lame duck coach right now in a Matt Nagy. I know there's a lot of people out there who still write home about Matt Nagy and that system coming from the Andy Reid thing or whatever. I'm out on it, been out on it, and I think you cannot separate that. You need to as soon as you can. Justin Fields from Matt Nagy, because I don't want them to be
synonymous.
And because then Nagy goes, and then Fields, still a guy, has a brand new coach, and who knows, hit or miss. Let's pray to God it hits so Fields can save his job. What if it doesn't? What if there's some growing pains there? Then you're on a 2 to 3 year guy who didn't hit. Sounds a lot like Trubisky.
Sounds a lot like Trubisky.
By the way, Trubisky did really good in Buffalo against the Bears.
Sounds a lot like Trubisky. Sounds a lot like Marcus Mariota, I could argue. And I'm not even the biggest Mariota fan, but I'll still give you that argument. So there's a lot of quarterbacks out there. A lot.
Me being a fan of Fields, I don't want to see that treatment and have to.
Honestly, it sounds like Tannehill.
The road to success, the road to success can be a long and brutal one, and finally Tannehill was able to get taken care of.
To the right spot.
Because you always knew it.
But Tannehill dealt with that
early
shit.
On, what was the narrative with him? Bust.
Yeah. It was unfortunate. It really
I don't want to see that.
Yeah, no, listen, I absolutely agree. Let's all right, we got one more quarterback, then we can get to some non-quarterback stuff.
That's the stuff, though.
That is the stuff. Yeah. That's what we got to talk about here. All right, last really big, I think, conversation, and again, this is one that I wanted to bring up. I think Drew Lock and Bridgewater have both looked really good in preseason, and I've paid attention to them a lot. They've blown out both the teams that they played. Granted, they weren't playing a lot of starters, but hey, who cares? They still looked really, really well. Both players got to play with the ones, and you got to see both players, I think, succeed. To me, it is not even a question one way or the other who I would pick. This is Drew Lock, all right? Drew Lock needs to be the starter. Drew Lock has the upper echelon skill set. He has the upper echelon arm, at least, and physical body. Like, he has all of those things. Yeah, listen, what's between the ears? Listen, I don't know the guy. I don't know that answer, and it certainly didn't look good last year at times. But, I mean, I think there's a lot of excuses. I know there is. There's a lot of excuses I can give for him last year to at least explain away some of the things that happened. Not everything, but certainly, there were injuries to Locke. There were injuries to the wide receivers. There was a lot of stuff going on in Denver that didn't help Locke at all. I want to see what Locke can be. I already know what Bridgewater is. Play Locke. It should not be a question. That is what he's played well. And listen, Bridgewater has too. I'm not trying to take anything away from Bridgewater, but Locke has played just as well, has not made any mistakes, has done everything right, and I think has had a couple more wow throws down the field than Bridgewater is. And the only reason for that is Locke's just more talented. He has more in his right arm than Bridgewater does.
I hate using the same verbiage, but when it comes down to it on, like ceiling and floor, I think with Drew Lock, if Drew Lock is capable of being the guy that he was whenever he was drafted, and we have seen that at times, because last year I agree with you in saying that we were both very high on Denver, and medically I kind of scratched the season, after all those injuries that went down and seeing the whole, especially even on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
They lost a lot of guys. Right now, it looks like we're going to get to see this unit fully healthy, fully intact, that can be a very, very good defense and a very, very good offense. And if Drew Lock, the missing piece, can get up to top 10-ish quarterback play. I'm not saying fully be cemented in the top 10. I'm saying bounce in and out like a Baker Mayfield does, or a Ryan Tannehill, or a Matt Stafford, Matt Ryan-ish. If he can be in those realm of names, this is a scary team to watch out for.
Yeah.
I think with Teddy, I think we know what we're getting. It's good to see iron sharpen iron, because Teddy is looking better when it comes to pushing the ball down the field. It's almost like Teddy recognizes that he has to do that now. But even still, Drew Lock has not slipped up in this process, in this battle. I think it has helped Drew Lock get better. And at the end of the day, let's go into this year as a Broncos fan knowing we have two formidable quarterbacks, and hopefully Drew Lock can keep that going. It's hard. I know it must be very, very hard to be a gunslinger mentality and have a formidable guy in Bridgewater right behind you who is not a gunslinger, who is more of the game manager. I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to not mess up. I'm maybe not going to win you this game, but I'm not going to lose you this game either. Drew Lock, I think, is on the other side of that spectrum, but they're both playing really well.
Yeah.
Ceiling Drew Lock, I buy that every single time.
I absolutely agree, and it's tough.
I wish I had more controversy to give to you.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm gonna add in some things that, because I always try to, when I have these takes, at least think about what the other side of it is, and I think the other side of it is a Vic Fangio who's been a defensive coach his entire career. What do defensive coaches think more often than not? They want to control the game. They want to play through their defense and all these things. And not only that, we did the rewatch of Super Bowl 50. Or Super Bowl 50. What did they do in 2015? I know Peyton Manning was at the helm, but they played through their defense. They controlled the game. They played through the defense, and they won the Super Bowl doing it.
Because that team is good. Yeah.
Yeah, that and I'm not saying it's the exact same team this year as it was, in 2015. I get that, but I'm just saying, there's people in that building that have seen a lot of success from a quarterback that, in Peyton Manning's case, had just lost it and didn't have the same zip on the ball, or a quarterback that's just average. I think that's the best way to put it. Bridgewater's a high-level backup who will be in the league for a long time. He's going to have, I think, a Tyrod Taylor type of career where he can go a lot of different plays and be competitive with the rookie, and certainly get some playing time.
You can start him if you want him to, but it's
there's always going to be somebody behind him that is more exciting for the fan base and more exciting for the coaching staff. I think that's just going to how it's going to have to be, how it's going to have to go for him, and that's unfortunate for the person, because I know I can only imagine how that feels, and to also feel like, man, it might not have been this way if I hadn't have had that injury. I can't imagine what that is.
I think that's
to
totally
the psyche.
True too.
Yeah, I certainly believe that. But at the end of the day, that's where we're at right now, and Drew Lock can be the future, and if he's not, we need to find out this year. That's the only way I can put it. I don't think we found out last year. At least I haven't given up yet. So I know not a lot of controversy. We kind of agree on that one.
That's why I say throw him out there, because Aaron Rodgers is on this last, let's the last dance with
hey
it's the last dance with Aaron Rodgers. Throw him out there and see what it is, and then you can try to make that sales pitch to him.
Man, how many coaching staffs are looking at their quarterback and thinking, if he just sucks a whole lot, we might get Aaron Rodgers next
year. Like, I can justify getting rid of you for that. I'll do it.
Honestly, there's two. It's going to be Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun. I mean, you're going to have to trade for one of them, but Aaron Rodgers is going to be there. All right, so last thing I want to talk about, and I want to give some love to some defenses. We can talk about some other position groups. I thought Najee Harris has played well. I thought the corner for Denver played awesome. Patrick Surtain had that interception. He's been playing really well. But I want to talk about these linebackers, man. Linebackers playing in the middle of the field, rookie linebackers, Parsons, Zaven Collins, and Joker, who we get made fun of still on their first season. Round one of the draft, we thought he was going to be top 20. We thought for sure he'd be top 25. And we thought there was no way he would fall out of the first round.
Of course we're going to talk about
Of course. Well, he's been playing awesome. I guess we'll start there because, he fell because of a heart murmur, which is unfortunate. But he fell all the way to the Broncos, for the Browns, and you watch him play, and he looks big and fast and strong and hitting, and I mean those are things you want to see in preseason. I don't need to see the high level stuff that you need to see in week 5, week 6, week 7. I just want to see you be fast, strong, and hit, especially at the linebacker position.
We drafted you.
Exactly. I want to see that physical ability. It's shown up in spades so far.
That's what he was at Notre Dame. He was the trendsetter on defense. He was the guy who was like, man, defense might not be running back to the huddle as fast as they should, or might not be carrying themselves, and then he knocks the shit out of someone, and you're like, I'll hit for that guy. Yeah, I'm here for that. And that's what he's doing. It goes to say for itself that he is 4th overall on Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Wow, I did not realize that. That's crazy.
Overall on the odds, if you look at it all, on Defensive Rookie of the Year.
that's a compliment to him.
And
really.
Exactly. And yet he goes back in the second round. I knew what I was seeing whenever I saw him, just like a lot of other people out there.
Yeah.
I think Daniel Jeremiah had him in his overall top 15 players.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's what happens. It was the same thing.
Like you said, heart murmur happens, whatever it is, to be. I know there's a lot of people who aren't Cleveland Browns fans out there who are just like, how do they keep getting this good? Like, how do they keep getting that defense is loaded.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like the Bucs and Joe Tryon.
Yeah. Joe Tryon's been killing it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the rich getting richer. I think that it is a match made in heaven, though, for Joker. And honestly, from a Browns linebacking core, that yes, they have a really good defensive line, a really good secondary. But when you look for the trendsetter on defense right there, at the linebacker position primarily, Joker can be it.
I absolutely agree. Zaven Collins went to Arizona Cardinals, I think 16th overall.
Haven't gotten to see him yet.
You haven't seen him. He same story. Just looks fast, strong, and powerful all over the field.
I have seen Parsons.
Yeah, Parsons. I mean, Parsons getting all the love because it's the Cowboys and Hard Knocks and all that. Yeah. We don't really have to talk on that too much. He just wants to play, and he's looked awesome. But yeah, Zaven Collins is another guy that I wanted to bring up because I really haven't heard a lot of buzz around him. Mm-hmm. But at least when I'm watching, I'm like, oh, who is that guy? I can't remember the number anymore, but I remember like specifically I was like, oh, who is that guy? And realized, oh, well, it's Zaven Collins. He got drafted out of Tulsa, and a guy that was a really tough eval for me because Tulsa plays a weird defense. But moving on to a couple other first rounders and defensive players, you mentioned Joe Tryon. Joe Tryon at 32nd overall, and Jason Owe, at 31 to the Baltimore Ravens. Both defensive ends, both guys that were billed as these like physical specimens, but needed to progress. Both really killing it in camp right now.
They are.
Yeah, and these are guys. I'm gonna be honest. This is coming from more of like a beat writer type of thing, but I wanted to bring them up as well as guys that are like super impressive. They deserve the love. This is it seemed like all year was all offense last year. Let's bring in a little defense. Let's talk a little defense this year. I think it's going to be more of a defensive. I think the defense is going to. I think there's going to be a lot less scoring this year. I'll put it that way because I think we saw last year that the no preseason, the no camp, that really affect the defense more than it affected the offense. And I guess it makes sense, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's because that's no preseason. That's when you're getting your pads loose. That's when you're getting your
welcome.
Yeah, exactly. So the same thing for the college game. Whenever they weren't getting that, it was like, I look at it from a betting stance. I would take the over on almost every single one because these guys at that rate, they don't get this early practice to warm up. Mm-hmm. So that's almost the first half. and then they come out after the half, already depending on what's happening. Now you're
a little
ready
bit more
to go.
tired,
but then you're in that mentality of, okay, now we're good to start hitting. Instead, no, it's a little too late for that.
Yeah.
This year will be a little different.
I absolutely agree. I think it's going to be the year of the unders. Really, I really do. It's at least early on before Vegas really catches up. Like week 1, I'm going to be betting under. I'm only going to be looking for unders week 1. I'm gonna have I'm excited about that. All right, that's all I have. Any last thoughts as we were talking that you wanted to bring up? Anybody else that you wanted to talk about? Put
an eye out on Marquez Callaway.
Man, I didn't want you to say it.
I didn't want to say it because I know.
Plan for him for a week. I was on him 3 weeks ago and I didn't tell anybody because I wanted to get him in our league.
You can't tell Dylan that.
Oh my God.
Dylan has had him since last year when he went undrafted free agent. That's the whole reason that Marquez Callaway. I've said it too, that he was a boss at UT. Yeah. He has always had that. There's been a lot of dogs come out of UT in that wide receiver core, and the difference in some of them was like a Josh Malone or there's another one that I'm missing too off the top of my head. They kind of
Juwan Jennings,
exactly that. Yeah. They were great wide receivers. They were great facilitators at going up and getting the ball, but they lacked that explosive thing. Marquez has that. Marquez had all of the great body intangibles, the route running and everything, and he's able to do the explosive plays. And we saw it last night. He can be their wide receiver 1. I think he's going to be the thing that makes them realize
Michael Thomas is going to be out for the first half of the season.
We may not need Michael Thomas.
Yeah. I'm so upset that you said that. I really
Marquez Callaway.
Yeah, in our league, just for anybody listening that doesn't know, we have a keeper league that's pretty competitive, and he was a guy that I was really hoping to grab late that nobody was thinking about, and then he had an awesome game last week, and I guess a couple of our friends already knew about him.
Yeah, but he's been on the radar for
okay, fair enough. If we're talking about on the radar guys, I have a list, but I don't want to give it. I don't want to give it away.
Careful.
Yeah, I gotta be careful.
Can we get a little love for Pat Fryermuth in this bitch?
He's played. He's been okay.
2 touchdowns.
No, he played.
That's solid.
He played very well. He played very
solid.
well. I like Pat Fryermuth a whole lot. Still excited to see when are we going to see Kyle Pitts? Haven't seen him on the field yet. That's been a little frustrating.
One more thing we have to mention. It should have been on the hot topics. This might take us a few minutes actually to evaluate it. Jamar Chase. There's problems.
Okay.
Three targets, back to back.
Drops.
3 drops. They pulled him from the game. Do you think that is this the time to overreact? Or is this something that we should have seen? Because this is a guy who hasn't played football in almost 2 years now. So is this the slow acclimation back to the game? We know what he is. We know what we have seen, but...
Yeah, listen, I'm absolutely shocked. Obviously, we're everything that, you graded him on, at least if you're someone like me who's just doing it from the computer, doesn't get to see him in person. You're grading on 2019, and you don't know what he did in the offseason. You don't know if he was catching balls every day. It is scary. It's certainly scary. We know the high-end talent. We know the physical ability. I'm very scared of Jamar Chase. I'm out on Jamar Chase as far as like a fantasy standpoint comes from. I'm not worried about him this year. I think next year might be the year that we get a Jamar Chase. It would be incredibly unfortunate if he was a bust. It would be. I think it would liken it to. I think if he's a bust, it's going to be like the way the Bills busted out with Watkins, right? Sammy Watkins was a superstar. He was going to be the dude. There was no reason he wouldn't be.
Because you always saw the physical ability.
Then for one reason or another, injuries hit in and things like that. I think that's really, and then he still had an okay career. He's still in the league for a long time. Like a lot of guys in the world would kill to have that kind of career. You know what I mean? But certainly disappointing for what we thought he could be. Maybe that's his career, and to me, that's his floor. Like that's what his bust is. Hope that's not the case. I hope he's a superstar.
Because in a certain essence, that's almost bust proof. When you look at a guy like Kadarius Toney, I can see Kadarius Toney not translating to the league, and he could be out
for sure. And we knew that.
Next contract.
Yeah,
exactly.
We knew that.
Jamar Chase is still this amazing talent. So I guess when it comes to real NFL, I am not sold out on him. I think he can contribute to this offense. I think he's going to be doing a lot, be very damn good. But when it comes to your fantasy draft in the 4th or 5th round, I'm going to...
4th or 5th round.
That's his ADP. Question. I am passing.
Ridiculous. Yeah, he shouldn't be going that.
Give me T. Higgins in the 6th or 7th, or Boyd in the 8th.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's I absolutely agree with that. And I think in real NFL, give him a year. Obviously, there's something going on. You hope this isn't a mental thing, and you just don't know the mental side of it. And like, I don't know. You can think of a lot of guys that have busted out really easily. Certainly scary. I always get scared with rookies that are having drop problems, and I always get scared with running backs that get hurt in their first year. Like those are the 2 things that really scare me as far as like a career goes.
Because I think you
don't always see the bounce back.
Well, because you just start looking up at the ceiling and you see it get a little closer. Because I feel like, especially with running back injuries, I think that's when it starts to really just kind of drop down. And it's like, you still have an amazing stud of a player. Yeah. But when you look at drafting, especially where Jamar Chase went, people were throwing his name up there that could be one of the greats. Like, he was expected to be, and he still could be. That's what I'm saying is, three targets, 3 drops. Doesn't mean that I'm just, completely sold out on him, other than a fantasy aspect.
Yeah, and to be honest, I didn't watch that game, so, like, I don't have context for, like, how the drops happened or anything like that. There's always a story there, but yeah, if it hit his chest and it dropped off 3 times in a row, I'm certainly worried about it, and I definitely saw that report, and it gave me concern. I did want to point out, like my first thing, we mentioned rookie running backs that get hurt, and obviously we were talking about Etienne earlier. Mm-hmm. My first thought when I read that was Rashad Penny. And how Rashad Penny got hurt in
I really liked him coming out.
Yeah, he was awesome coming out. And granted, he wasn't quite as high caliber as I think Etienne was coming out as far as like a pedigree standpoint. But that was like my first thought, and it was like, man, Penny had these injuries early on, and he just really never clicked into that offense. You just don't want to see a
guy get swept out before he gets the chance.
Exactly.
Kind of exactly. Bryce Love for me.
And that was before he really even got in the NFL. He got hurt in college and got drafted late, and really just it was nothing after that. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think that's it. That's all I have. I can't think of anything else. I was trying to think of a couple other like sleeper fantasy guys that I had, and I have a list on my computer that I'm ready to go. Though. Yeah, and I'd be fine giving them away, but I just can't think of them off the top of my head, so I'm not gonna do that. So I guess we'll end it right there, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for listening. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you to Underdog Podcast for hosting us, and we will be back next week. Also, check out NFC East Breakdown if you're interested in that on the YouTube channel. Peace.
7.